Okay. Are we live? Shit, I don't have my stream deck going. No, I should be getting stream deck audio. There we go. Oh, I'm getting a message from someone else. Okay, good. I'm not at liberty to say what that's about. Wish I could. I cannot. Let me check my audio really quick. Gotta keep talking. Okay. Here we go. I'm just gonna make my voice a little louder. It needs it. I absolutely do not need to record this because it's not gonna be a video or anything. Alright, so yesterday we spent about an hour and a half going over basic design stuff, talking about like agile and waterfall. Today I'm going to expand a bit on what I've done thus far. I've not started any of this work, right? We're just doing design. And designing by my metrics, everyone's got a different definition for what this actually is. What I mean when I say design is creating the software on paper before you do any programming, any actual building. Some people call that requirements gathering. Requirements are a very specific thing inside of software, so I want to be careful about that. I've even had some people say that requirements are putting everything on paper, and then design is, you know, constructing the software itself. That's just not the case. That's a really hard thing to justify that take, I think. Yesterday we were adding stuff to this backlog. But I want to expand on it just a little bit more. We have, you know, obviously an epic specifically for design. So I want to fill that out today just because then I can start putting work on the board. And then learning Unreal Engine basics, implementation. Probably won't even start that till late April. If even then, you know, designing can take a long time. And just to reiterate, this is for a game I'm building as a learning tool to learn Unreal and to practice my designing skills, because it's been a while since I've designed a full brand new software and not just features. So let's add some stuff to this design. What do I even want to add? Also, why are these all being added to the board? I think oh, I'm hitting shift instead of control. Good job. I want to keep at most 3 things for any one epic. At most 3 items on the board at any given time. just because I don't want to be thinking about these other problems while I'm solving ones that are on the board. Apologies. I get very distracted, as you can probably imagine. Alright, that's enough. How do I click off this shit? There we go. Alright. What needs to be done? These will all be tasks, or design specifically. So when I think of design, requirements gathering is the first on most people's list. I think requirements probably go last before you write any tests, which there won't be a ton of tests for this. It'll be a lot of just, you know, play testing. Because it's not something that's meant to be super perfect. It's just a learning experience. So I would say let's have a task for create an ideation document. Got a superfluous. You have an extra space. I don't even know the word I was trying to say. So this is where I'd start. When I was in school for, well, I went to school for cybersecurity. When I was in school for security, I had to learn a lot of software engineering and a lot of computer science. Security was a little bit of both of those kind of areas of expertise, along with, you know, understanding what makes software secure, and even some physical security. So, when we were studying software, the idea behind the design is that you're thinking with marketing in mind. So, I mean, the base instruction we were given was essentially the same guidance you're given when you start a book, which is come up with a kind of one-sentence summary of whatever you're making. Let's create user stories of items in the presentation. Oh, I keep forgetting it. You have to hit enter. Then after user stories, I would probably move on to requirements at that point. Requirements are, we'll go over this once I start doing it. Requirements are some of the hardest things you can do in software. It is very important that you are incredibly specific because, well, for a few reasons. The first reason, and again, I'm going to talk about this in way more detail when we get to it. If you're working on a big team, you have to pass this stuff off to other people. And back in the old day, you'd literally get printed out pieces of paper, like a full, you know, whatever, 1,000-sheet document put on your desk back when they were all like punching shit in, or even walking around to the different parts of the computer, plugging and unplugging stuff, like you're working on some sort of synth. It's literally a full document explaining in incredible detail how to do what you're doing. And then you have, in my case, in April, am I really going to remember the intricacies of what I came up with while ideating? Like, oh, yeah, it's a ring toss game. I want you to move your I want the user to be able to move their hand just like this, and I want it to work in this level of fluidity with all of these physical requirements. Of course I'm not. I can hardly remember what I had for lunch, which I eat the same thing for lunch every day. So that's surprising. I might have memory issues. For all user stories, sure. You'll notice everything here in these 3 items. Does that sound like a lot of fun to you? No, it's not very fun. I'm gonna try and just show up with stuff to talk about that's not specific to doing all this, although maybe people will find it interesting. Who knows? Requirements especially would be pretty, I don't want to say lame, but they're gonna be pretty lame. Okay, so now we need to figure out, once I have requirements, I would write a full testing document, but I don't care. I'm gonna write, maybe do a testing document. We're not even gonna add it up there. We're gonna add to the epic. What after that? I think I should dedicate a lot of time to come up with, or like, you know, mock-up user interfaces. User interfaces are much easier to code if you have a target you're aiming for. Just doing all that stuff, you know, off the cuff, out of your own brain, really, really difficult. If you draw it up, you have a very specific target to aim for. We had a project in school. I've not had to do this since, although I do mock-ups for all the UI work that I do, you know, in my career. In school, we had to make some sort of software project in a team. And a lot of the people, well, I think actually most of the people in my group were not super adept software developers yet. They were, I mean, we were all in school, but let's just say I did a lot of the coding. I would argue most of the coding, but I was also in charge for some reason. It just kind of happened that way, you know, they just decided, hey, you're in charge, so I did that. I had one person go off, collect information, write up some, you know, SQL so I could put that into a database. And then I had one person spend all of their time, which should not have taken that much time, drawing up the UI. And then once they gave me the UI, it was pretty simple, like, to just write all the CSS for it. We made a website, it was pretty great. And then someone else handled all of the API integrations that we used. Or they collected the information for me to do all of the API integrations. I actually ended up doing those integrations myself. What is after mocking up the user interfaces? I already kind of have music in mind. It's gonna be simple because the game is gonna be really one note, kind of short. So maybe this will be part of design. I'm gonna add this to design as well. Like, answering this question is gonna help me solve this. Actually, I think this is all done here. With all of this, I can move on to actually writing code. Which means we have to get started. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. These are all my big UE questions, and then these are all of the big line items for designing software. Let me see if I can figure out adding subtasks. I should be able to pull. Also, I'm going to add a few things here. So, blocked. If I need some of the resource to be able to complete a task, it goes in blocked. Blocked is much more important when... Actually, I'm going to put blocked even behind to do. And no, they're going to go behind in progress. Blocked is really useful when you are writing software in those 2-week sprints or 1-week sprints, because you can see what's not going to be done by the deadline by if it's blocked. And blocked also indicates that it's not something that is to do with me that's blocking it. It's something to do with, you know, an outside resource. So if you're working in a big company, maybe someone needs to get you some information for you to continue. That would go in blocked. For me, the only thing I could think that would block any progress would be issues relating to monetary issues or, you know, serious technical problems like my power is out for some sort of indefinite time period, or if I'm like medically not okay for some reason, that could go in here. I don't expect to ever use this. I'd like to think that I'm above being blocked in software. That was not a legitimate thing that was a lie. Of course, I'm not like some superhuman developer. I would actually argue that I am a high class problem solver and maybe a mid to high tier. I would say I'm a very high tier problem solver, but maybe only a mid to high tier developer. There are certainly people who know way more about coding and all of the math that goes into it than I do. I am working damn hard to be a better programmer though, because it's the one, I think my one true weakness that does not have a corresponding strength tied to it. And I am getting better. I've seen a lot of progress the last few months. Well, the last year. You know, I was thinking about it. Hang on, I'm gonna add one more. Actually, no, I'm not. Okay, cool. I'm gonna pull this ideation document in, and we're gonna... I understand how to break down the work in Jira Software. I don't want to answer your questions. Absolutely not. I'm not elaborating. So this is actually good if you're working in big teams. Having a record of all of the decisions that you make, or that are, you know, contested decisions. This is very important. Especially if whatever decision happened was bad. Obviously you don't want to like attribute blame too harshly, but you do want to know why you came to that decision in the first place. Because if the reason you came to a decision was flawed, you should be able to educate the team on, you know, what went wrong and why. Okay. Open in Confluence. I kind of do want to do that. This is going to be part of a bigger aspect, which is creating technical documentation that is outside of design. So that's things like all the readmes, all of the licenses, any sort of, you know, code descriptors that don't fit in those two categories, any how-to videos. That sort of thing would go in, you know, not in design. So this seems like the hub where you'd want to explain some of that stuff. So I'm not even going to use that in particular. I do want to make a child page for it though. Which is called design documentation. I'd like to give everything an emoji so that I can pick it out very quickly when I need to. So, like, construction. I was thinking something more architectural than, you know, just equipment. Objects. There's got to be some sort of, you know, measuring device or a construction square. Something in here. There's some notebooks. Oh, here we go. There we go. This is, I think about this with design. So, we're doing it. We are going to want to add not a timeline. The table of contents for the document. Actually, I'm going to do this a bit different. Since I'm really doing this as a learning device, or kind of setting the standard for future work. I am going to give a brief description of all of the jobs that I'm working on. So this first one's going to be an ideation document, and I'll link to it, but I want to know I want to give a concrete description on what I'm writing so that I don't end up writing a different document that I intend to. So this is kind of just writing down my hopes and dreams for what this document's going to look like. So I'm going to say this documentation should only be a stream of consciousness. Oh, I spelled that wrong. I'm not a speller, I'm a programmer, I promise. Is that music super loud for y'all too? No, it's just really loud for me. Guess that's fine. This documentation is an informal document describing the software in broad strokes. It will include... What information do I want to include? A one-sentence summary of final product. I can spell, I promise. Ideas about I really don't want to solve anything here, right? So a few paragraphs on some features that might be included. This is a good place to limit yourself. Okay, and when I say limit yourself, there is a... I'm trying to remember the exact story. I'm just gonna paraphrase what I remember, which is generally not a good way to retell a story, but fine. I remember hearing this story about someone who was going to school for, I think it was writing, it might have been something else. And they were instructed during class to go write a story about a building, or just, you know, generally go write about this building in town. And they get to this building. It's an old building. It has a lot of history, and there's so much information that they just can't write anything. They just don't know what to do. So they go back to the professor and they're like, listen, this building is crazy. There's so much to write about. I don't know that I could tell you everything about this building that's important. Like, it's going to diminish my work to even attempt it. So the professor says, if too much information is not going to work for you, go and look at one brick on this building and write about that. You know, so this guy goes from having, a one-page summary of all the history of this book to, look at this brick and tell me about it. And so he goes, he looks at this building, he stares at this brick for a few seconds at first, and then basically just writes it off as, this is a brick. And then he sits with it for a minute, and he meticulously picks out every detail of this small object in this much bigger building. And he writes incredibly detailed notes describing every facet of this brick. You know, it's just a wall, right? And at the end, he hands his professor, 3 pages on this one brick. And it's only by, focusing in on the smallest detail of a big thing that you really come out with your best quality work. So that is why I've limited myself to one sentence and a few paragraphs of information. That's because I don't want to tread on user stories. I don't want to describe what the user is going to be doing. I just kind of want to give a brief overview. I also don't want to tread on requirements. This is not the time to think about technical details. This is end product descriptions. What do I want? Not how do I want to do it. So ideation document. Hope I'm spelling everything right. Probably not. So we're going to start this off. Sentence. Summary. I've got to add more music. This is killing me that I have so few songs. What is a one-sentence summary that would describe what this game is going to be? This is a game about... Is it really just the carnival ring toss, or am I trying to... I think I'm trying to emulate that game very specifically. So maybe instead of thinking about it like a game, I should think about it like a simulator. So this is a carnival ring toss simulator. Fine. What's something else I can say about this that isn't just a description? Because this sure is a summary, but what do I want people to think about when they're playing this game? If I'm thinking with the end in mind, how would I market this if I wanted to market it? And I think the thing I want to focus in on is that there's no skill involved. It's just a money pit. How would I fit that into one sentence? This is a carnival ring toss simulator. Maybe an extremely detailed, or just a detailed. There's gonna be some gameplay here. I've got some ideas for there being an actual game besides you walk up to the counter, you click E, and then it throws a ring at random. There could be some strategy. Of course, that's kind of what I'm aiming for, right? I want there to be strategy. Let's just write this down. This is actually a good thought I'm having. So let's talk about gameplay first. So I want this game to be just as low skilled as any regular ring toss. But still provide some traditional gameplay features. So I'll talk a bit more about what I want to do for that. Let's think about perspective. So I'm going to add a subheading here. Which is who is the player? Or maybe just perspective. Carnival goer. Who is playing the ring toss? Yeah, I think just that kind of general perspective, you know, you're not simulating running the ring toss, you're simulating playing it. Let's think about I guess I'll do start condition later. Actually, don't even need this. I'm gonna write this out in the stories, right? Okay. I would like there to be detailed hitboxes on all the bottles. Maybe I just put this in dotted list. Because these are all going to be kind of disparate ideas I put together in more documentation. Sure. Detailed hitboxes on all the bottles. That's a technical requirement. That doesn't go here. I want these to all... Maybe this is all, like, I want. What do I want out of this game? I want the ring toss to feel just as impossible to predict as in real life. I want the controls to be simple. I want there to be... Oh. To be a class-based play style system. I want the player to have a limited budget. Note that's attempts. I want there to be a selection of prizes. Thinking about just ideating here, and I don't like pronounce the fucking word like that. Ideating here. I think this is loud too. All right. I think it would be fun if the prizes were the achievements. So like obviously you'd have regular achievements. Maybe give out achievements for different prizes. I cannot spell for shit. Oh, I'm just gonna put that there. It'll figure itself out. I want some of the bottles to give different rewards. I'm gonna add something here. So maybe the centermost bottle. Is gold and gives you the ultimate achievement. So if you really want to get the grand achievement for the game, you have to ring the center gold bottle. That's what you have to do. That would be funny. I had this idea that I thought would be kind of cool. Oh. I want the bounding box on the play area to be more than an invisible wall, just because I want to play around with some stuff. I might try and replicate the in A Plague Tale Requiem, the second game in the series. There's one section where you could walk off into the woods on your own, and when I tested, I was like, oh, can I walk this, behind us? And it lets you walk for a little bit and like look around, and then your movement speed gets gradually slowed until you're just standing still. So I think I do something like that. Because I don't want to model a whole carnival. I want the carnival to look sort of realistic. I want there to be NPCs walking around. Oh, okay, this is, I guess, the kind of wacky idea. I want the park mascot to chase and hit the player with the mallet from the bell game. When they run out of money. Oh. Maybe they get some sort achievement for eluding them for a while. Okay. So that's all of the gameplay. This is not gameplay. We got into a little bit of some requirements, but that's to be expected. It's okay. Let's think of some extra stuff here. Oh, whoops. So let's think style. Right, I want it to look realistic. I want it to sound realistic. So this would be like carnival music, background chatter, and rides. I'll use this for the other rides. And then to avoid the uncanny valley, I also don't want this to be a kind of negative, which we're not supposed to do, but it's fine. I don't want this to be a hand sim clone. I was thinking that this could devolve into like a hand simulator kind of clone, and I don't want that. What else can I add? for style. Let's think about the menus. Menus be carnival themed. Focus on the main mascot. Is there anything else from a style perspective we really need? Oh, yeah, I should add some stuff that I want to learn here, right? So I want to play with lighting. It's in the game tent. So this is kind of going to be like a fuck it, I should just write it down, right? Maybe they move when a roller coaster goes by. So what I want to think about here, the environment around you. I want this to feel like kind of a hastily set up carnival. The kind of thing that you might find in a big town, you know, in a parking lot, right? Like the Spirit Halloween, you know, rents out their parking lot to the carnival that comes through town once a year during the summer, or like that back lot that's set up for festivals. Okay. So what is a part of this? Probably dirt. Probably like pop-up tent or something. Maybe not even a pop-up tent, just... I think the dirt's what I'm really going for, like... this kind of thing. We could have day-night options. So during the day you get sunny lighting, during the night you obviously have all of the other lights. I think I'm just gonna write dirt here. Okay. I want the player to see other games. Nearby, but not play them. And then part of the gameplay, I want NPCs to also play the game. Yeah, I think that's it. I want it to feel like there are other people playing this besides just our main character. What is next? So we've got style, we've got gameplay. That's kind of the only two things, the only two parts of this game. Obviously, okay, let's talk about... Let's just talk about some miscellaneous stuff that I'm thinking about right now. These are a bit more, you know, technical requirement kind of deal. So this is going to be like... Unreal Engine 5. I might release on... What is the website that everyone releases games on? Oh, yeah. If decent. If I can do a decent job kind of honing in my skills, we might put it on itch. Obviously, you could not get something like this put on Steam. I don't have the community to greenlight something like this, so... Yet. Gotta use yet statements. I think this is kind of a fantastic ideation document. Let's add an emoji to it, just so I know what's going on. My first thought here is a light bulb. They're supposed to be in here. Oop, there we go. Great. Cool. You see this all shows up in here. Pretty great stuff. Did I even add that to the board? I did. It's done. Let's pull up another item from the backlog to fill that space. I'm gonna put user interfaces up here because it's more exciting. So the user interface mockups. Ooh. Hey. Actually, I'm gonna read a message. This is from UPS. I've got to be careful not to, you know, dox myself. But a package I ordered 2 years ago is arriving soon. Says it just got into a major city that is, you know, close enough to me that it's notable. Very cool. It's supposed to get here by Saturday. I don't know if that's still true. I'm gonna check my email really quick. I'm sure this is very exciting. Here, we'll put on the Marble Machine song. And I will just talk for a minute. The last year has been much better than I anticipated. Why is Google's search so bad on their email? Gmail search is the worst thing. Here we go. Expected delivery by Saturday the 2nd. When? I guess tomorrow is Friday. Kind of makes sense. Alright. That'd be nice if I actually have that on Saturday. Because I've been waiting for, like I said, 2 years. It was supposed to ship... It was supposed to ship September 2022. I purchased it in August 2022. It was supposed to ship in December 2022. That's right. It wasn't even finished until halfway through the next year. And then, you know, 2023, it didn't even ship until late October. Or they didn't even start shipping things until late October, so people were getting it, obviously, in, you know, November, December. But the ship for North America got rerouted around a major world event that's happening currently that I'm not going to talk about in detail. A major world event caused it to have to reroute around the southern tip of Africa. So it's months late at this point. It was supposed to be here in January. Or no, it was supposed to be here in December, and then it got pushed back a few weeks so that they could figure out how to reroute it. And then the actual reroute took a few months, so... what can you do? And this is only the first... So this is a board game, right? I bought it on Kickstarter. The first board game, it's a two-parter. Came out a long time ago, and I bought it a long time ago, and I have it. It's a very large board game. And then the second... I forgot to assign myself to these. The second half of this board game is arriving in 2 shipments. One is a pared down version that is specifically meant for one-on-one. That should be quicker to play and much easier to set up because the game setup takes forever. And then the actual full version of that game is going to show up sometime. I don't know. They haven't shipped it yet. Seems like distributing large quantities of big items is maybe harder than everyone assumes it is. That's one thing I've learned this last year, is that stuff you think is easy is way harder than you think. Like, sure, it's on paper, it's super easy to put something in a boat and ship it across the ocean. I say jokingly. But like, there's so much. Think about every step along the way. First it has to get made, which is already a catastrophe waiting to happen. Then it has to be packaged, another catastrophe waiting to happen. Think about how many people have to sit there and hand pack an order for something like this. And then it has to be shipped across whatever country made it to a port. Right? Think about all the infrastructure of building a port city, right? All the people to support the actual business itself. And then everyone who works at that business. Think about how many hands touched all of these products. It has to be put in a giant steel box. I guess maybe they make them out of aluminum, I'm not sure. It gets picked up by a big crane, put in a boat that someone had to build, that's powered by resources that we dig out of the ground. So there's got to be a whole team for digging up resources, a whole team for building a boat, and then you get a whole team to pilot the boat. And then they command all of the disparate parts here to move a giant steel tube with smaller steel tubes inside of it with board games in there across the entire planet. From one side of the planet to the other side of the planet by boat. It takes them months. People live their lives doing this work. And then it gets to another city, another port city, where the same process happens in reverse. And there's way more people living there. And then it gets shipped across to the country it got shipped to. to your house, which takes all sorts of, truckers or train drivers. They're called conductors. I know that. I know what they're called. And then the actual postal service to get it to your house. That's so much work just to ship something. It's kind of crazy to think about. User stories. Do I feel up for that? I kind of just want to go take a break. And it's been an hour. Yeah, I'll call it there. Okay, bye.